The glass vase slipped from my trembling hands and shattered into 1,000 glittering shards on the marble floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the vast, silent hall. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. My heart pounded so hard I thought the CEO himself might hear it. And then his voice came. Low. Dangerous. Cutting through the silence with the sharpness of a blade. Who allowed you in here? I turned slowly, my knees weak, and found myself face to face with him. Xiaoyu, the legendary CEO whose name could silence boardrooms, the man whose face was splashed across magazines with headlines like Cold King of the Corporate World, an untouchable ruler of finance. And here I was, a poor cleaner girl from nowhere, standing in his mansion, caught red-handed with broken crystal at my feet. My voice wouldn't come. My lips parted, but only a thin gasp escaped. He stepped closer, his polished shoes crunching against the shattered glass, and I swear each sound stabbed straight into my chest. His gaze was colder than ice, sharp enough to strip me of every layer of dignity I had left. I asked you, he said, each word dripping with disdain. Who let you into my house? I wanted to sink into the ground. I wanted to vanish. My hands, still trembling, clutched at my cheap apron, as if the worn fabric could shield me from his judgment. But the truth was cruel. No one had let me in. I had come here because I needed the extra money. The cleaning agency sent me, and I didn't dare say no to an assignment, even if it was for the most dangerous man in the city. Yet how could I explain that to him without sounding pathetic? Without sounding like a thief sneaking into a palace? His eyes narrowed, scanning me from head to toe. And then he smirked. The cruelest smirk I had ever seen. You, he said, almost to himself, like the word was a curse. This is what they send me? A poor little maid who can't even hold a vase. Laughter. I hadn't noticed them at first, but voices drifted from the staircase. A group of wealthy socialites, dressed in diamonds and silk, were watching the scene unfold like it was a play for their entertainment. She probably wanted to touch something expensive for the first time in her life. One of them sneered. Look at her, hands shaking like a rat in a trap. Their whispers turned to giggles and I felt my face burn. Humiliation flooded every inch of me. My eyes dropped to the floor, unable to meet their mocking stares. I wanted to scream, to run, to hide. But my body betrayed me, frozen in place, standing before the man who could destroy me with a single word. Clean it up, he ordered suddenly, his voice like thunder. Every single piece. And pray you don't scratch the floor, or you'll spend the rest of your miserable life paying for it. The women laughed harder. Tears pricked the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of him. So I knelt, my knees pressing painfully into the hard marble, and began to gather the shards with bare hands. The glass sliced into my skin, tiny red lines blooming across my fingers. But I didn't flinch. I didn't cry out. Because what would that show them? Weakness. No. I couldn't afford weakness. So I kept my head down, my blood mixing with the broken crystal, my heart screaming inside my chest. And then something strange happened. For just a second, barely long enough to trust my own memory, I felt his gaze soften. Xiaoyu, the untouchable CEO, looked at me not with disgust, but with curiosity. But before I could be sure, the cold mask slipped back into place. Pathetic, he muttered. Finish quickly. And then get out of my sight. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing myself to breathe. Forcing myself to survive this moment, even if every fiber of me was crumbling. I thought I could hear my late mother's voice whispering in my ear. Endure, girl. Endure, and one day you'll rise above them. But right then, enduring felt impossible. Right then, all I could do was bleed quietly on the floor of a man who hated me on sight. Still, deep inside, beneath the humiliation, a tiny spark of defiance stirred. Maybe it was the way those women laughed. Maybe it was the way he looked at me like I was nothing. But I promised myself, silently, fiercely, that this would not be the end of my story. Because no matter how poor, how despised, how humiliated I was tonight, one day they would see me stand tall. One day the girl on her knees would make them bow their heads. What I didn't know was that this single night, this single humiliation, was the beginning of a chain of events that would change everything. If you felt the sting of humiliation, if you've ever dreamed of turning your pain into power, Then stay with me. My story is just beginning. And if you want to hear every twist, every secret, every moment where the tables turn, hit subscribe and tap like now so you don't miss what comes next. The cuts on my hand stung, but I didn't stop. I picked up shard after shard, careful not to miss a single piece. The women above me whispered like hyenas circling their prey. Look at her hands, all bloody, one scoffed. Doesn't she know how to use gloves? Gloves? Another giggled. She probably can't afford them. Their laughter clawed at my ears, but I forced my face to stay blank. I had learned long ago that showing pain only made people press harder. Still, their words burrowed deep. Every whisper reminded me of the difference between us. Their manicured nails, their designer heels, my second-hand shoes that squeaked against the marble. And then just when I thought the humiliation couldn't get worse, he spoke again. Stop. The single command froze me. My hands, still trembling, hovered above the last few shards. I looked up. Slowly. His expression was unreadable, but his gaze pinned me like a knife. You've bled enough, he said. Now. His eyes flicked to the laughing women. Wipe the floor clean with your apron. The laughter exploded. A cold shiver ran down my spine. My apron? My only shield of dignity? To kneel here in front of them all, scrubbing the marble with the same fabric that covered my chest. It was crueler than anything I had imagined. I opened my mouth. The words clawed at my throat. Please don't make me. But the plea never left my lips. Because his eyes dared me. Cold. Sharp. Waiting to see if I would defy him. And I knew, if I refused, the consequences would crush me. So I lowered my head, untied the knot at my back, and pressed the fabric to the marble floor. The whispers rose again. She's really doing it. Pathetic. I almost feel sorry for her. No, actually I don't. Each word stabbed into me, but I kept scrubbing. Round and round, the marble gleaming beneath my blood-streaked apron. I thought of my late mother. Of the promise I made at her grave. To survive no matter how cruel the world was. To endure until I could escape poverty's chains. So I endured. But deep inside, my shame curdled into something darker. Something stronger. Hatred. Not just for them. Not just for him. But for the way they thought I was beneath them. For the way they laughed like I wasn't even human. I would never forget this night. Never. When the floor finally gleamed, I rose to my knees, shaking. My apron was ruined, streaked with blood and dirt. My pride was shredded, trampled under their heels. But before I could slip away, his voice rang out again. Stand. I forced myself upright, swaying slightly, my head bowed. Look at me. My chin lifted against my will. His eyes met mine, cold and merciless. Remember this, he said softly, so only I could hear. This is the price of stepping into a world that doesn't belong to you. The words hit harder than a slap. And yet there it was again. That flicker. That tiny crack in his gaze, gone too fast to be real. Did he regret it? No. I shook the thought away. Men like him didn't regret cruelty. The women descended the stairs, their heels clicking against the marble, circling me like predators. One of them tilted her head, her diamonds catching the light. Tell me, little maid, she purred. Do you even know who this man is? Do you realize you should be grateful he hasn't thrown you onto the street yet? I bit my tongue. Hard. Grateful? For what? For being humiliated until my soul bled? But I stayed silent. Because silence was my only weapon. They mocked louder, frustrated that I wouldn't give them more tears to feed on. And then suddenly he snapped. Enough. The room stilled. Even the women froze. His voice had shifted. Still cold but edged with something new. Authority. Protection almost. Leave, he told them. All of you. They hesitated, confusion flickering across their painted faces. But one look from him and they obeyed, muttering as they drifted away like shadows. I stood there stunned, my ruined apron clutched in my bleeding hands. Why had he done that? Why silence them? After ordering my humiliation himself. He looked back at me. For a heartbeat I thought I saw guilt. But then the mask returned. You've dirted enough of my house, he said. Get out. And just like that I was dismissed. But as I stumbled toward the door, my chest tight with unspoken rage, I made a vow deep within my heart. One day, The same man who looked down on me tonight would see me standing higher than he could ever imagine. And on that day, he would regret every shard of glass, every cruel word, every drop of my blood spilled on his floor. What I didn't realize was that this humiliation was not the end. It was only the beginning. Because fate had tied me to Emoichin in ways neither of us could escape. That night, after leaving the mansion with bloodied hands and a heart heavier than stone, I walked alone down the deserted street. The glittering lights of the city mocked me from above, as if reminding me that people like me would never belong there. I clutched my ruined apron to my chest. The voices of those women still echoed in my ears. Their laughter, their whispers, their disgust. And his voice, "Remember this. This is the price of stepping into a world that doesn't belong to you." Those words followed me like chains. But if only he knew. If only they all knew. I wasn't born a cleaner. I was born into a family that once had love, if not wealth. My mother was gentle, though her health was frail. She'd braid my hair before school and hum lullabies while patching my worn clothes. She believed the world would be kind if we were kind first. My father, however, believed in something else. Money, status, appearances. When I was 12, he left us. Walked out with another woman whose perfume clung to his suit. He didn't look back. My mother, too weak to work, wasted away in a hospital bed until one cold winter morning she slipped away. I stood outside that hospital with nothing but a bag of clothes and the echo of her last words. "Survive, Yenin. Whatever you do, survive." From then on, survival became my only prayer. I worked at food stalls after school. Carried boxes in warehouses where men twice my size shouted orders. At night, I studied under the flickering light of a street lamp because I couldn't afford electricity. But fate wasn't done testing me. At 19, when I thought I could finally breathe, my father returned. Not to care for me, not to make amends, but to use me. "You're of no use unless you bring value," he sneered, pushing a contract into my hands. He wanted to sell me, marry me off like cattle to pay off his debts. I refused. That night he threw me out. Since then I have scraped by on whatever jobs I could find. Cleaning, serving, cooking. Anything that would keep me alive. That's how I ended up in Emoichin's mansion. When his cold eyes fell on me tonight, he didn't see my scars. He didn't see the battles I had already fought. He only saw a poor maid, unworthy of respect. But in truth, every shard of glass I picked up tonight was nothing compared to the shards of life I had picked up for years. I remembered one night in particular, rain hammering against the tin roof of the tiny room I rented. My textbooks were spread across the table, soaked by leaks in the ceiling. My stomach was empty. I hadn't eaten for 2 days. Yet I pressed on. Because in my heart I carried one secret. I was not going to remain invisible forever. I had something they didn't know about. Something I protected fiercely, like a flame in the storm. A secret my father never discovered. A truth even Emoichin himself couldn't imagine. The memory of my mother's gentle face rose in my mind. She had left me nothing but her words and a single sealed letter, hidden deep in the folds of her old blanket. A letter I had never dared to open. Not yet, because I was afraid of what truth it might hold. But one day soon, I would open it, and everything would change. For now, though, the city saw me as nothing more than a poor cleaner. For now I wore the mask of silence. But deep within I knew the truth. This humiliation was temporary. The mansion, the whispers, the cruel CEO who thought I was nothing. They were only chapters in my survival. And I would survive them too. My name is Xiaoyu, and I was only supposed to sweep marble floors and polish glass windows. Yet, the moment I stepped into this mansion, I felt like a pawn in a game far greater than myself. That night still lingered in my veins. The night when the cruel yet magnetic Xiao, Li Wei, cornered me in the grand hall with eyes that stripped away every layer of pretense. His words, his closeness, the way he touched my wrist as though testing fate itself, it was all burned into me. I should have been invisible to a man like him. But after that night I wasn't. And it terrified me. The next morning, I scrubbed the kitchen counters so hard my fingers went raw. I thought burying myself in work would erase the memory, but my heart betrayed me. Every sound, the click of his shoes across marble, the low command of his voice echoing down the hallway, sent me spiraling back into that moment when our worlds collided. Xiaoyu. I froze, cloth in hand. His voice was behind me. My throat tightened as I slowly turned. Li Wei stood in the doorway, hands tucked in his tailored pockets, his sharp gaze fixed only on me. Yes, sir. My voice was barely a whisper. You've been distracted. His eyes scanned me with unnerving precision, like he was dissecting every tremor of my being. Is it because of that night? My chest thudded painfully. He said it aloud. He acknowledged it. I lowered my gaze, gripping the counter to keep from trembling. I don't know what you mean. His lips curved, mocking, knowing, dangerous. He stepped closer until the air between us thinned. You should know, Xiaoyu. Once I touch something, I don't let go easily. My heart leapt into my throat. I'm not. Not what? His voice dropped to a husky whisper. Not mine. The cloth slipped from my hand. The heat of his words pressed deeper than the marble I leaned against. Yet, before I could gather myself, the sound of sharp heels clicked against the floor. Li Wei. A woman's honeyed voice broke the spell. I turned my head and saw her. Stunning, elegant, wrapped in designer silk. Her presence exuded ownership, as if she had already claimed every corner of this mansion, including its master. It was Zhao Liang, the socialite I'd heard whispers about among the staff. Everyone said she was destined to be Li Wei's bride. Her gaze swept over me like I was dirt clinging to her shoes. Who is she? Li Wei's eyes flickered, but his expression stayed unreadable. A cleaner. The word cut through me like a blade. I knew I was nothing more. But hearing him say it, after all that tension, after the way he looked at me, it made my chest ache. Liang smirked. Then make sure she stays in her place. Or perhaps send her away before rumors begin. Her suggestion wasn't casual, it was a threat. I bowed quickly and fled the room, but even as I hurried down the hallway, their voices followed me. She doesn't belong here, Li Wei. Don't tell me you've grown. Interested in the help. His answer came low, dangerous, but I caught every word. What if I have? That single sentence shattered everything. From that moment, whispers filled the golden walls. The other staff looked at me differently, some with pity, others with envy. My name spread in hushed voices, linked to the CEO of the mansion. Every corner seemed to carry eyes that judged me. And yet, despite the suffocating pressure, I couldn't erase him. That night, his words, the way he defied even Zhao Liang, a woman of power and wealth, for the sake of a lowly cleaner like me. But was it desire? Or something darker? Understood. Days later, I found myself in the grand library, dusting the towering shelves. My heart still ached from the poison in Zhao Liang's gaze, but I forced myself to focus. Why do you keep running from me? His voice again. He was behind me. Always behind me. I clutched the feather duster like a shield. Because you're dangerous. Li Wei chuckled lowly, stepping into the warm glow of the library lamps. Dangerous. He tilted his head. Or irresistible? The truth lodged in my throat. I couldn't admit it. I wouldn't. You don't know what people are saying. I murmured, keeping my eyes on the floor. They think there's something between us. They want me gone. Let them talk. His voice sharpened. I don't care about them. I care about this. His hand brushed mine, sending lightning straight into my veins. Whatever this is. I yanked my hand back, my breath catching. This can't happen. You're Li Wei, the CEO. And I'm a cleaner, he finished for me. His jaw tightened, his gaze burning. But do you really think titles matter to me? My heart screamed yes. In his world, titles, power, and wealth were everything. A man like him couldn't afford to be seen with a girl like me. Still, his eyes told a different story, one I didn't dare believe. Understood. That night, alone in my small servant's room, I pressed my palms against my face, trying to smother the whirlwind inside me. Why was this happening? Why me? But deep down I knew the answer. That one night changed everything. Not just for me but for him too. And the more he pulled me into his orbit, the harder it became to escape. My name is Xiaoyu, and I never imagined the golden walls of this mansion would one day feel like a cage. After that night, Li Wei's shadow seemed to follow me everywhere. His eyes burned through every corner, every task, every breath I took. He was fire and I was the moth too weak to resist. But outside those walls the whispers grew sharper. The household staff no longer looked at me with indifference. Their eyes held judgment, envy, sometimes hatred. And at the center of it all stood Xiaoyu, the flawless socialite who carried herself like the mansion's true mistress. When she announced the grand charity gala, the entire household went into chaos preparing for it. For days I polished chandeliers until my arms ached, scrubbed marble tiles until they gleamed, and arranged flowers that smelled sweeter than the life I could ever dream of. The night of the party arrived. Crystal chandeliers bathed the ballroom in gold. Guests in flowing gowns and tailored suits flooded in, their laughter ringing like bells. I kept my head down, dressed in my plain uniform, carrying trays of champagne like the invisible shadow I was meant to be. But invisibility was no longer mine. Xiaoyu. His voice reached me even across the crowded room. Li Wei stood by the grand staircase in a sharp black suit, his presence dominating the entire hall. His eyes, cold to everyone else, softened the moment they landed on me. He didn't hide it. He didn't even try. I lowered my head quickly, my cheeks burning. But it was too late. Xiaoyu noticed. Later that evening, when I slipped into the servants' corridor to catch my breath, I felt a hand seize my arm. Who do you think you are? Xiaoyu's voice was laced with venom, her nails digging into my skin through the fabric of my sleeve. She stood too close, her perfume suffocating. A maid. Daring to look at Li Wei like that? I struggled, shaking my head. I didn't. I wasn't. Her laugh was sharp, cruel. Don't play innocent. Do you think men like him fall for girls like you? He'll use you for a night, then discard you like the rag you are. Her words pierced deeper than knives. But before I could answer, another voice echoed down the corridor. Lying. Li Wei's tone cut through the air like steel. He walked toward us, every step controlled, his expression unreadable. Xiaoyu's grip loosened immediately, though her smile turned sugary sweet. Li Wei. I was just warning her. After all, she's your servant. We wouldn't want her to embarrass you, would we? Li Wei's gaze shifted to me, lingering on the red marks her nails had left on my arm. His jaw clenched. Step away from her. Lying blinked, startled. What? You heard me. His voice was low, dangerous. Don't touch her again. My heart stopped. The world tilted. Did I really hear him right? Lying's mask cracked for just a second, fury flashing in her eyes before she quickly masked it with a brittle smile. Li Wei, don't tell me. You care about this girl? Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Then Li Wei spoke. She is under my protection. That's all you need to know. The moment shattered me. Under his protection. Not his equal, not his beloved. Just a fragile possession to guard. Lying's eyes burned with jealousy, but she plastered on her socialite smile and swept past him back into the ballroom. I remained frozen, my heart pounding, unable to look at him. Are you hurt? Li Wei's voice softened for me alone. He reached for my arm, his fingers brushing the faint scratches. I pulled away instinctively. Don't, please. You shouldn't. His brows furrowed, confusion and something deeper flickering in his gaze. Why do you keep running from me? Tears stung my eyes. Because I don't belong here. Because people like Xiaoyu are right. I'm nothing but a maid to you. And yet, my voice broke. And yet, you're pulling me into something I'll never survive. His eyes darkened, and for the first time, I saw something unguarded, pain, almost desperation. You think I chose this? His voice was low, raw. You think I wanted to care for you? That night, I lost control. And ever since I can't stop thinking about you. My breath hitched. His words struck me like thunder. But before I could answer, the sound of music swelled from the ballroom. The gala had reached its peak. He straightened, his mask snapping back into place. Stay close tonight, he commanded softly. There are people here who would use you to hurt me. And then he was gone, leaving me trembling in the shadows. The rest of the night blurred. I floated through the crowd with trays of champagne, feeling eyes on me from every direction. Some curious, some cruel, some calculating. But one pair of eyes never left me. Li Wei's. Every time I glanced up, I caught him watching me from across the room. Not Zhao lying. Not the investors or business elites. Me. And it terrified me more than anything. Later. When the gala ended and the guests departed, I collapsed in my small room, my hands pressed to my chest as if to hold my heart together. What was happening to me? To him? That one night in the mansion had changed everything. But tonight, in front of all those glittering eyes, I realized something even more dangerous. Li Wei wasn't just playing a game. He was falling. And so was I. Even when the chandeliers stopped glowing and the laughter faded from the mansion's ballroom, the storm never ended. It only changed form. The next morning, as the staff cleared away the remnants of the gala, whispers slithered through the corridors like snakes. Did you see how the CEO looked at her? One maid hissed behind the kitchen door. As if she was someone important, another answered, her tone dripping with disbelief. She's just a cleaner. Zhao Lying was furious. They say she left the party early. Everyone noticed. Their words burned in my ears. I carried trays of half-empty glasses trying to ignore them, but the more I tried to hide, the louder their voices seemed to grow. Every glance from the staff felt like knives piercing my skin. I wanted to disappear, to be invisible again. But it was too late. By midday, I learned the whispers had spread beyond the mansion walls. The socialites who had attended the gala had sharp tongues, and they carried stories like trophies. Before the sun had set, rumors painted me as Li Wei's secret mistress. Some claimed I was cunning, a temptress who had clawed her way into the CEO's attention. Others insisted I was nothing but a passing distraction, doomed to be cast aside. And Zhao Lying, she was not one to let rumors rest. That evening, as I was leaving the laundry room, she appeared at the end of the hall, flanked by two elegantly dressed women. Her smile was sharp enough to cut glass. Xiaoyu, she called, her voice sweet but laced with poison. Come here. My steps faltered. But refusing her wasn't an option. I approached, clutching my apron with trembling hands. You've been busy, she said smoothly. Polishing silver, cleaning floors, seducing CEOs. Her friends laughed, covering their mouths like mocking dolls. I didn't. My voice shook. It's not like that. Not like that. Her eyes flashed with cold fire. Everyone saw how he looked at you. Do you know what you've done? You've embarrassed him. You've embarrassed me. People are questioning why a maid dares stand so close to Li Wei. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. I never wanted any of this. I just want to work quietly. Please let me be. Her smile turned cruel. You think it's that simple? Girls like you get eaten alive in our world. And if you don't step back, I'll make sure you regret ever setting foot in this mansion. She swept past me, her perfume lingering like smoke, her laughter echoing down the corridor. My knees weakened. I thought I was alone, until I turned and saw him. Li Wei. He stood in the shadows at the end of the hallway, his eyes locked on me. Night. He summoned me to his study. The room was dim, the only light spilling from the fire crackling in the fireplace. He sat behind his desk, his posture rigid, his gaze unreadable. "Close the door," he said. I obeyed, my hands trembling as I clasped them together. "Tell me," he began, his voice low and controlled. "What did Zhao Liang say to you?" I shook my head quickly. "It doesn't matter. She's right. I don't belong here. If my presence is causing trouble, then maybe I should stop." His tone cut through me. His eyes, sharp as steel, pinned me in place. "You will not leave." I froze, my breath caught in my throat. "Do you think I care about their whispers?" he continued. "Do you think I live my life by the judgment of parasites who feed on gossip? You are here because I want you here. That is the only reason that matters." My heart pounded wildly. His words both warmed me and terrified me. "But, Li Wei," I whispered, tears threatening. "This isn't just about whispers. Zhao Liang will never stop. She'll ruin me." His expression darkened. He rose from his chair, walking toward me with slow, deliberate steps. "Then let her try." The firelight carved shadows across his face, highlighting the fierce resolve in his eyes. "I've built empires out of nothing. I've destroyed men twice as ruthless as her. If she thinks she can harm you, she underestimates me. And she underestimates you." I shook my head in disbelief. You're making this harder. Don't you see? The more you protect me, the more they'll hate me. I'm just a maid. Not to me." The words fell from his lips like thunder. "Not to me." My breath hitched. My body trembled. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. His hand lifted, almost hesitating, before brushing a stray lock of hair from my face. His touch was gentle, nothing like the ruthless man the world feared. "You changed something in me, Xiaoyu," he admitted, his voice raw. "That night wasn't just a mistake. It was the beginning. And no matter what anyone says, I won't let you slip away." My heart shattered under the weight of his confession. Part of me wanted to believe him, to let myself fall. But another part screamed that this was dangerous, too dangerous. Tears spilled down my cheeks. "Why me?" I whispered. "Out of everyone in your world, why me?" His gaze softened, the fire reflecting in his eyes. "Because when I look at you, I see the one thing money and power could never buy: honesty. And I can't let that go." "Understand?" I stumbled back, overwhelmed. But before I could answer, the sound of urgent footsteps echoed outside the study. The door burst open, and Li Wei's assistant rushed in, pale-faced. "Sir," he said breathlessly, "it's Zhao Liang. She's gone to the press." The words hit like a blade. Li Wei's expression hardened instantly, his eyes turning to steel. "What did she say?" The assistant hesitated, then lowered his voice. "That you've taken a servant girl as your mistress. The tabloids are already running the story. By morning, the entire city will know." My world collapsed. I turned to Li Wei, my voice trembling. "It's over. They'll destroy me." But Li Wei's jaw tightened, his eyes burning with ruthless fire. "No, Xiaoyu," he said coldly. "It's just beginning." By dawn, the city was already ablaze with whispers. The tabloids screamed headlines that twisted the truth into poison. CEO Li Wei's secret mistress revealed. The maid in his mansion. From mop to mistress. Who is the poor cleaner captivating the cold CEO? Every article carried grainy photos of me, blurry snapshots taken when I carried trays at the gala, when I slipped quietly through the corridors. They turned my silence into guilt, my invisibility into scandal. By the time I arrived at the mansion staff quarters, phones were buzzing with the same venomous words. Colleagues who once ignored me now stared with sharp curiosity, their gazes filled with envy, judgment, and glee. "She planned it all along," one hissed. "Who knew a rag could polish itself into a diamond?" another sneered. I held my head down, clutching the strap of my worn satchel. My heart beat in my throat. Every step felt like walking across shards of glass. That afternoon, I ventured into the city to send money to my mother. But the moment I stepped outside, reality hit harder. People stared. Strangers whispered. Some laughed openly. "She's the one, right? The CEO's maid." Imagine. A girl like her in his bed. Shameless. My cheeks burned. I hurried down the street, pulling my scarf tighter around my face. My body trembled not from the cold but from shame. And then, as if fate wanted to test me further, Xiaoyu appeared. She emerged from a sleek black car, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. She looked flawless, hair cascading like silk, red lips curved into a victorious smile. Cameras flashed instantly, reporters surrounding her like moths drawn to fire. "Miss Zhao," they called. "What do you think about the rumors of Li Wei and the maid?" She tilted her chin, feigning sorrow. "It breaks my heart. 4 years I've stood by Li Wei's side, believing in his integrity. But to see him reduced to this..." Her gaze slid toward me, sharp as a dagger. "It's humiliating for all of us." Gasps rippled through the crowd. All eyes turned to me. Cameras clicked. Questions flew. My legs wobbled under the weight of their stares. "Miss, is it true? Did you seduce him? Do you think you're worthy of the CEO?" I wanted to scream, to deny everything, but the words died on my tongue. And then suddenly he was there. Li Wei's black car pulled up with the authority of a storm. He stepped out, tall, commanding, his expression carved from steel. The crowd gasped. Cameras flashed furiously. He didn't hesitate. He didn't flinch. He walked straight to me, his coat brushing against mine, his hand gripping my trembling fingers. The world froze. "She is with me," he declared, his voice carrying like thunder. "And no one has the right to insult her." The street fell silent. The cameras clicked in stunned disbelief. Undershirt's face drained of color. "Li Wei," she gasped, her voice breaking. "You can't be serious. She's nothing. She is everything you will never be." He cut her off, his tone sharp enough to shatter glass. Gasps spread like wildfire. The crowd erupted. Reporters shouted over each other, their cameras blinding me with flashes. But Li Wei stood firm, his hand warm and steady around mine. For the first time I saw fear flicker in Xiaoyu's eyes. She stumbled back, her mask cracking. Her allies whispered frantically, unsure how to spin the scene. The more they panicked, the more I realized something. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was war. Hours later, back at the mansion, I stood in Li Wei's study again. My hands still trembled, my heart still raced. "Why did you do that?" I asked, my voice cracking. "You didn't have to defend me. You just made it worse." He poured himself a glass of whiskey, the amber liquid glowing in the firelight. His movements were calm, deliberate, but his jaw was tight. "You think silence would have saved you?" he asked coldly. "They were already sharpening their knives. If I hadn't spoken today, they would have torn you apart by morning." I swallowed, my throat aching. "But now they'll come for me harder. Xiaoyu won't stop. The press won't stop." His eyes darkened, his voice low. "Then let them come. I'll crush anyone who touches you." I shook my head, tears blurring my vision. "You don't understand. This isn't my world. I don't belong here. And the more you protect me, the more they'll hate me." His glass hit the desk with a sharp clink. He stepped closer, his eyes blazing with intensity. "You belong with me," he said, his voice raw. "I don't care if you believe it yet. But I do. And I'll fight for you until you believe it too." My chest heaved, torn between fear and longing. His words pierced deep, igniting emotions I didn't want to admit. But before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression shifting to stone. "It's worse than I thought," he muttered. I frowned. "What do you mean?" He looked up, his eyes grim. "Xiaoyu isn't acting alone. She's joined forces with members of the board. They're demanding my resignation. They're using you as their weapon." My blood ran cold. Me, just a cleaner. And now I was the spark that could topple an empire. Undershirt's that night, Lying awake in my tiny room, I stared at the ceiling, my heart pounding. The world outside was spiraling and somehow I was at its center. I thought of Zhao Liying's venomous smile, of the reporters' flashing cameras, of Li Wei's hand gripping mine in defiance. Fear gnawed at me, but beneath it, a flicker of something else. Strength. Because maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as powerless as they thought. I stood frozen in the middle of the vast ballroom, the sound of my own heartbeat louder than the faint music floating through the mansion. My mop bucket was still at my feet, the smell of polish clinging to my hands, but none of that mattered. All I could see was him, Ethan, the cold so everyone feared, walking straight toward me. His sharp suit seemed to gleam under the chandelier, his gaze burning into mine. Why do you keep running away from me? His voice was low, steady, and terrifyingly direct. My throat went dry. Because I don't belong here. My words trembled like fragile glass. I'm just a cleaner. This house, this world, it's not for me. For a moment his mask cracked. I saw it, the flicker of pain in his eyes, so human, so vulnerable. He stepped closer, his shadow swallowing me whole. Do you really think that's what matters to me? He asked, his tone almost pleading. I backed away until my shoulders brushed against the cold marble wall. It matters to everyone else. People like you. You don't look at people like me. He stopped, his jaw tightening, then let out a sharp breath. You're wrong. His voice broke slightly. From the first night you walked into this mansion, spilling that tray and apologizing like the world was ending, I couldn't look away. Your gentleness, your strength, it disarmed me. Do you understand? You're the only one who's ever made me feel alive. My heart pounded so violently I thought it would tear through my chest. Did I hear him right? The cold, untouchable CEO was saying these words to me? I shook my head, panic rising in my chest. No, you can't say things like that. Why not? He demanded, stepping closer again. Because you're poor? Because you think the world will laugh at us? Let them laugh. I don't care. His voice grew stronger, his control slipping. I only care about you. The room spun. His confession was everything I secretly wished for, yet everything I feared. I felt trapped between the gravity of his words and the reality of who I was. I whispered, if anyone finds out, they'll destroy me. They'll say I'm using you. They'll call me names I won't survive hearing. His expression darkened, almost furious at my pain. Then let them try. I'll protect you, Lily. I'll shield you from everything. Just don't push me away. Silence hung heavy between us. I could feel the sincerity in his tone, but my scars from the world whispered otherwise. Could love from someone so powerful really be safe for someone as fragile as me? Before I could answer, the echo of high heels clicked against the marble floor. A woman's voice sliced through the air. Well, she said, her tone dripping with poison. Isn't this touching? I turned and my stomach dropped. Standing at the entrance was Clarissa, the elegant heiress who'd been circling Ethan for months. Her eyes narrowed, glinting with venom as they swept over me, lingering on my uniform, my mop, the dirt under my nails. Of course, she sneered. The mighty CEO falling for the maid. How predictable. Heat rushed to my face. My hands clenched around the rag I still held, wishing the ground would swallow me whole. Ethan's expression hardened instantly. Clarissa, leave. But she only laughed, a cruel, piercing sound that echoed across the ballroom. Oh, I'm not going anywhere. In fact, I think the entire board would love to hear about this. Their brilliant leader risking his empire for a pathetic little servant. My body shook as her words cut deep, each one sharper than the last. Tears threatened to spill, but I forced them back, standing rigid. Ethan's voice turned to steel. Say one more word against her, and you'll regret it. Clarissa's lips curved into a wicked smile. Oh, I'll do more than say it, Ethan. I'll show the world exactly what kind of man you are. And with that, she turned and stormed away, her heels echoing like a countdown to war. I collapsed onto the nearest chair, my legs no longer able to hold me. My entire world had shifted in minutes, from his confession to Clarissa's threat. Ethan crouched beside me, his hand hovering near mine but not daring to touch. Lily, he said softly, look at me. I lifted my eyes, blurred with tears. No matter what she does, no matter what anyone says, I won't let them hurt you. Do you believe me? My lips parted, but no words came out. My heart screamed to trust him, but my mind trembled with fear of what was coming. That night, for the first time, I wasn't afraid of Ethan. I was afraid of the world that would soon come crashing down on us both. The next morning I woke to a storm, not of thunder and lightning but of whispers and stares. Every cleaner, every servant in the mansion seemed to look at me differently. Their hushed voices trailed after me like shadows. "She's the one." I overheard two maids gossiping in the kitchen. "The CEO's mistress." Mistress. The word stabbed into me like a dagger. By the time I entered the grand hall with my cleaning supplies, the atmosphere was suffocating. A group of executives in dark suits stood near the staircase, their eyes cutting toward me, cold and sharp. One of them smirked, shaking his head as if I were nothing but a joke. Then Clarissa appeared. Her heels clicked against the marble floor with deliberate rhythm. Her lips curled into a victorious smile. "Oh, look," she said loudly, ensuring everyone heard. "The Cinderella of the mansion. Tell me, Lily, do you polish the floors as well as you polish Ethan's ego?" Laughter erupted among the executives, cruel and mocking. My face burned. My throat closed up, but no words came. My silence only fed their amusement. Suddenly the air shifted. Ethan strode into the hall, his expression like carved stone. "Enough." His voice boomed, silencing the laughter instantly. Clarissa turned sweet, her voice dripping with false innocence. "Ethan, we were just having a little fun. Don't tell me you're really going to defend her. In front of everyone." "Yes," he said, his tone unyielding. "If anyone dares insult her again, they answer to me." Gasps echoed. For the first time I realized what his words meant. He wasn't hiding his feelings anymore. He had just declared war on his own world for me. But instead of relief, dread settled over me. The consequences of his defiance rippled through the room like an earthquake. The board members exchanged grim looks, whispering among themselves. Clarissa's smirk widened, as if she had been waiting for this moment all along. Later that evening, I found myself cornered in the servants' quarters by two women I had once considered kind. "Lily," one of them hissed, "you're bringing shame to all of us. People will think we're all climbing into his bed just to get ahead." I never asked for this," I stammered, clutching my rag to my chest. "Doesn't matter," the other snapped. "Your name is dirt now. And so is ours thanks to you." Their words crushed me. I ran out before they could see the tears rolling down my cheeks. When I reached the garden, Ethan was waiting. His shoulders sagged as though carrying the weight of the entire empire. He looked up when he saw me, pain flickering across his eyes. "They've started moving against me," he said bitterly. "The board, investors. Clarissa has poisoned them all. They say I've lost my judgment. That I'm risking everything over." He cut himself off, his fists clenching. "Over me?" I finished quietly. His silence was the only answer I needed. I swallowed hard, forcing strength into my voice. "Ethan, maybe you should let me go. If I leave, this storm will pass. They'll forget me and you can. Don't say it." His voice cracked like a whip, his hand slamming against the bench beside him. "Don't you dare say it. I won't lose you." My chest tightened. "But if you keep me, you'll lose everything else. Your company, your reputation, everything you built." He stared at me with such intensity it nearly broke me. "What's the point of all of it if I can't have you?" Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to believe him, to throw myself into his arms and never let go. But the sound of Clarissa's cruel laughter still echoed in my ears, a reminder that love alone might not be enough to shield me from the storm. That night, I lay in my tiny bed in the servants' quarters, staring at the cracked ceiling. My heart ached with longing and fear. Every whisper I'd heard, every insult thrown at me, every glare, I carried them all. And still his words lingered. "I won't lose you." But as sleep finally dragged me under, one thought refused to let go. What if, by staying, I doomed us both? The storm finally broke on the night of the gala. The mansion glittered with chandeliers, champagne, and guests dressed in the finest gowns. Every influential name in the city had gathered under Ethan's roof. Yet beneath the sparkle, tension ran like a live wire. Everyone was waiting. Not for a toast, not for a speech, but for blood. I was told not to attend, to stay hidden away in the servants' wing. But as the whisper spread, my name trailing from one silk-covered mouth to another, I felt the walls of my room closing in. My heart hammered. If I stayed silent, the lies would bury me forever. So I stepped into the ballroom. The moment I appeared in my plain cleaner's uniform, the room gasped. The sea of sequins and pearls parted like I was a stain on their perfection. Heads turned. Some smirked. Others sneered. And at the center of it all stood Clarissa, glowing in a crimson gown. She looked like a queen preparing for execution. "Well," she said loudly, her voice carrying across the marble floors, "if it isn't the maid who bewitched our CEO." Laughter rippled. I froze, every instinct screaming at me to run. But then I saw Ethan. He was standing at the far end of the hall, his eyes locked on me. Not with shame, not with regret, but with a fierce, unshakable pride. That gave me strength. "Enough," Ethan said, striding forward, his voice cutting through the noise. "You want the truth? Here it is. Lily is not my shame, she is my choice. My heart." The hall erupted. Gasps, curses, disbelief. Investors muttered angrily, shaking their heads. Clarissa's smile faltered, but only for a second. Then she laughed, the sound sharp as glass. "Your heart? Ethan, do you hear yourself? She's a nobody. A cleaner who scrubs your floors. If you choose her, you'll lose everything. The company. The respect of this city. All because you can't control your appetite." Her words sliced deep, and for a moment I almost believed them. But Ethan's hand found mine. He pulled me forward, standing tall, shielding me from their venom. "I built this empire with my own hands," he declared. "And I'll burn it down myself before I let anyone dictate who I can love." The room fell silent. Then the board chairman stepped forward, his voice icy. "Then you leave us no choice. Effective immediately, you are removed from your position as CEO. We cannot let your indiscretions destroy this company." Gasps spread again. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. His hand never let go of mine. Clarissa's laughter rang again, triumphant. "See? He's nothing now. And you, Lily, you've dragged him down with you." Her words should have shattered me. But instead something inside me hardened. "No," I said, my voice clear, carrying through the hall. All eyes turned to me. My knees trembled, but I refused to bow. Ethan didn't lose everything because of me. He lost it because of people like you, people who think love is weakness, who believe money makes you untouchable. You don't know what it means to care for someone beyond status or wealth. But I do. And so does he. The hall buzzed with shock. Clarissa's face twisted, her confidence cracking. Ethan's hand squeezed mine. "You're stronger than all of them," he whispered. In that moment I realized something. Even if the world cast us out, we still had each other. We left the ballroom together, walking past the stunned faces, the murmurs, the fury. Outside, the night air was cool against my skin. For the first time in weeks I could breathe. Ethan stopped at the mansion gates, looking at me with eyes that held both apology and hope. "Lily," he said softly, "I can't promise you the world anymore. But I can promise you me. If you'll still have me." Tears blurred my vision. My heart swelled with something that wasn't fear anymore. It was love, pure and unshakable. I nodded. "I never wanted the world, Ethan. I only wanted you." He pulled me into his arms, and as the city lights flickered in the distance, I knew my life had changed forever. Not because I had stepped into a mansion, but because I had found the courage to stay true to my heart. And in that courage I found him. If you believe love is stronger than power and wealth, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with someone who needs to be reminded that kindness and courage can change everything.